Welcome back to another episode of RNT Fitness Radio. Today I'm joined by one of our RNT clients, Nimalan, who's been working with us for the past year and gone through what I like to call the ideal physique journey so far. After a dieting phase where he, in his own words, made more progress in 16 weeks than in 10 years, he's shifted gears to a lengthy muscle building phase now where it's all about PRs on the bar and PRs on the plate. Having never been lean in the past, we talk about the struggles about embracing the fluff and why for the right person, it can be such an important phase to go through to end up with the physique you're really after. Through all of this, he's travelled almost every single week for work all over the country, and he spends time talking about the critical mindset you need to adopt if you want to make progress in your health and fitness when living out the suitcase. Nimalan's also getting married this month, and his soon-to-be wife Sonayna is also on his RNT journey, and we talk about strength training and muscle building for women, which will definitely interest many of our female listeners today. We then finish off by talking about Nimalan's biggest passion in life, the methodology of lean, a business strategy first formulated by Toyota, and a strategy he's coined as the best way to run your business. I hope you enjoy this one. So how's your training going?
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Got to train later this evening as well. Been on the same program for a while, but it's good, consistent. Love the training. It's amazing. Because we went down to lab. So we went down a volume from my first stage, so that was good. So kind of focusing more on strength and absolutely blowing up. Like a couple of days ago, we took a bit of we said we need to double down and get the chest, the push workout big. So that was good because we took a week off, and obviously we're building calories back up. And smashed my last workout. So yeah, everything went up again.
Do you want to talk through what split you're using right now?
So right now, because the goal is upper body building, we got a push pull, and then an upper strength day and a lower strength day.
Yeah.
So yeah, really working well. Kind of love the rep range, and the volume is kind of perfect. So you can focus on kind of progressive overload, which is going really well.
So you're deep into a muscle building phase now. So the volume is lower. All the focus is on progressive overload, and because of an upper body focus, we're using, as Nim said, 3 out of 4 days are going to be upper body, and we were varying the rep ranges throughout the week. So on 2 days of the week, you're focusing on this 5-day rep range. Or
which one?
2 days you're focusing on the 4 day rep range.
Yeah, 6 to 8 on my strength days.
Yeah,
and then 8 to 12 on my kind of push and pull.
Yeah, and that's probably one of my favorite ways to train when you're muscle building, because you get the best of both worlds.
Yeah,
and you're able to kind of work through a continuum of rep ranges rather than being stuck in just one.
Yeah, and you know what? Like something that almost was like a penny drop, and also a game changer was when you told me to do more reverse pyramiding. That was good because I was trying to stack up the weights, and it was always like I never felt I could actually go up when I was just doing kind of more that kind of progressive lifting with just like work through it kind of almost routinely. So like you do 4 by 8, and then I would start doing 4 by 9, 9, 9, 9. But what we did now is we're pushing the first set as the big set, and trying to get more kind of a push in the lower. Almost within the rep range, we're getting a bigger push, and suddenly my strength has just absolutely blown up. Yeah.
So by reverse pyramiding, what you mean is, for example, you're doing 3 sets of 8 on the squat.
Yeah.
60 kilos is your best for 8. So you might do 60 kilos on the first set, and then you go down to 55 for the next set to stay within that rep range.
Yeah.
And then 50 for the set after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so you're working towards that top set and always trying to beat what you're getting on that first set.
Yeah. And that's been massive because it just helped me bust through loads of plateaus that I had hit when I last kind of, with my previous regime, was just kind of hitting strength plateaus. But all of a sudden now everything's just kind of notching up quite well.
So one thing I really like about your check-ins is the traffic light system they use for your performance tracking. When you're in a muscle building phase, the most important part is training and being able to apply progressive overload. So talk the listeners through this traffic light system that you've come up with.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm in business, so everything's a traffic light report, red, amber, green. So what I've done is applied that to my training. So I know what my key indicator lifts are, and then it's a green if I've gone higher than my previous previous week. It's an amber if it stays the same, or my top set goes higher and the other ones drop off, or vice versa. And it's a red if everything kind of drops off in a big way. Luckily, we're seeing mainly greens and ambers, and then a couple of times it's red, and it's good because those reds help us adjust, and then kind of say, all right, maybe take a longer rest, and when you're pushing the next time you're doing the big kind of, I don't know, incline bench or whatever it might be. That's always been good because that's where I'm getting feedback in the week and addressing the reds, and they become ambers and greens next week.
Yeah, and you're only doing it on the specific exercises.
Yeah. So we worked out goals for the year, and we said what are our indicator lifts. So we have about, I think, six key ones. Yeah. Across, upper, lower, push, pull, and then we basically, I just, whenever I'm doing those sets, get the best songs on the playlist on, absolutely smash it, and yeah, hopefully it's a good set, and then get to tell you about it.
Yeah, so I mean, the best thing I think for muscle building phases when you're doing your training is to just keep your focus on like 4 to 6 key exercises, and the other ones you still want to make progress on, but you're not as like stressed out about it. No. You're not amped up about it because when the weights get higher, there is that certain level of anxiety that creeps in with that lift because you think, crap, I need to beat it. Yeah. And when the weights get higher, it becomes difficult to make progress.
Yeah.
So by only allocating certain exercises to this, it can make it a lot more manageable and more enjoyable when you're training as well. Because then okay, I'm going to put all my effort into these. The other ones, as long as I make some sort of progress over time, I'm happy. But these are the ones I need to really dive into. I mean, it's probably like, in your business world of the 80-20 rule.
Yeah. So like focus on the key things. Like that's like, in terms of what I do for a business, that's one of the things that we talk about is like a lot of businesses don't focus on the right things. So there's a principle called Pareto, and the idea is 20% of the kind of areas of focus will give you 80% of the impact. So in this case, if I nail my indicator lifts, the whole kind of game should improve as an outcome.
So far you've already mentioned about 3 analogies between body transformation and business. So why don't you tell the listeners a bit more about who you are, what you do, and a bit more your background? Yeah.
So I'm Nim, if I haven't actually announced who I am. So what do I need to tell people about me? So I'm getting married. So that's coming soon. I feel like that's a big life event next week. And
so by the time the podcast is out, you'd actually be married.
I'll be married, yeah. So
congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, should be good. And then my day job is I work as a management consultant, and I specialize in something called kind of lean consulting. So lean is this kind of business philosophy that came out of the manufacturing industry, and it's like the best way of how you set strategy down to like how you run a business. And my focus market is in healthcare. So healthcare, great people who work in healthcare, but their business systems for strategy and operations is kind of not where it needs to be. So we spend time with all healthcare organizations, basically transforming how they basically run everything from how they set strategy to how they plan business to how they manage performance to how frontline staff make improvements day to day. And I found like loads of analogies between like my day-to-day job and what it consists of, and actually what the RNT journey has consisted of. So it's quite unique. I've got quite a unique insight into like how RNT's helped me and how I should translate some of those lessons into the way I do work.
Could you give us an example?
So the biggest one is, so I do coaching. So I do exec coaching, leadership coaching, because basically one of the main issues with the way businesses need to operate is they need to change their culture. And if they're going to change their culture, leadership need to change behavior. So that's like one of the big principles of how we do transformation in a business. Yeah. Like if the leadership don't change the way they act and behave, the culture of the organization will never shift towards one that focuses on improvement. So the funny thing is, like, when we get hired, people are obviously paying us to come in and coach them and stuff. But because these are like extremely experienced leaders, 20, 30 years of experience, you have this almost anxiety about how to coach them on their leadership behaviors. And so I don't hold them to account as much as I think I should. And then it's interesting because that's the first lesson I got from RNT is my coach. So Nathan, I remember like when it came to week 1 and I was like, oh yeah, like 6 days out of 7, I was on a fat loss phase. So 6 days out of 7, I was all good and had a bit of shepherd's pie at my mate's house. And what came as a response was this absolute tirade of what you're doing, what you're playing at, and all he was doing was like holding me accountable, and that is exactly what I needed to hear. Because next week I was like, for that, like damn sure I'm not letting that email like that response come back to me. So I just ticked all the boxes and said, now what? So suddenly, like, what drove me to actually change behavior was just being held accountable.
Yeah,
and actually I think to myself, I'm doing my clients a disservice if I'm not holding them accountable when they hire me as a coach. I mean, I know it's different fields and different expectations, but it's pretty much parallel in terms of the principles of accountability. So if you're going to hire a coach, you've got to be accountable to them.
What have you done in healthcare that you've taken from this in terms of accountability? What have you implemented?
Well, the main thing is just the way I frame future conversations with people who I'm coaching. I'll just kind of be, because I'm a people pleaser by nature. So, but I've got to almost realize that being a coach, you can't always make people happy. Yeah. So I just have accountability now. I make sure I check in almost with people and agree what they're going to do, and I'll come back to them and say these are the things that we agreed, and just be a bit more kind of direct in terms of the feedback. And I think they trust me, and I think I've been pleasantly surprised that when I'm a bit more direct, people are actually building more capability, more skills, more behavior change. So yeah, it's like not something tangible except just the way I approach checking in with clients, basically.
Yeah, there's something to be said about the objectivity that a coach can bring.
Yeah.
When you're presented by data and just being objective about the progress.
Yeah.
And cutting out all the bullshit that surrounds it.
Yeah. Like even the best, there's this TED talk, and I remember I stole it from the RNT Facebook group. I need to give a shout out. So I think it was Pratish who put up this sick video on TED. This guy, I think his name was Atul Gawande. He's a surgeon who is like world-class surgeon, and he got a coach just to give some feedback on how he did the surgery. And he went and did the surgery and he thought, oh yeah, I smashed it. And then he got 2 pages of feedback, and it's like, exactly, you don't know, you can't see yourself, you can't be objective. And and it's the same with like sports. Like LeBron James gets coaching on basketball and Lionel Messi gets coaching on football, even though they're considered the best in their skill set of all time, but they still get coaching. So if anything, it just renewed my belief that everyone should have a coach. And then your article came out, and I was like, yeah, 100%. Like everyone needs a coach, even a coach.
And the article he's referring to is it was called "Why I Have a Personal Trainer." Yeah, because I always get asked, "Oh, you're meant to be a good coach. Why do you need to have a coach yourself?
Yeah,
don't you know everything already?" Mm. And while I have a good knowledge base, it's still difficult to be objective with myself. Yeah, and it's still difficult to be accountable to myself on a weekly basis. I need to have someone else that I'm reporting to. Yeah, and the other big thing is, if I run a coaching business and I don't have a coach myself, how can I value what I provide people if I don't see the value myself? Yeah, 100%. Like in a nutshell, that's why everyone needs a coach. Yeah. Like if you really want to get results, like that's where people say, oh, coaching is expensive and you don't need it. You have your own knowledge base and whatever. But it's like, what's the cost of ignorance? Like what is the cost of not knowing what you're doing? And for me, sadly, when it came to fitness, it was 10 years of just like meandering between like never, I should show you some pictures of me, in high school, and I was not in a good place, like chubby face. And I was even like, it would be my before picture, and it was bad. But so I lost a bunch of weight. So I knew stuff. I remember like reading books and knowing about deficits, and I went extra and learned about like low GI carbs, and I got my mum to buy like specific pasta from Morrison's because of all this nonsense. Like just totally lost my way. And then 10 years never was consistent with anything. And then I
signed up to PTs thinking they're going to like on the gym floor and thinking, but because I was such a critical person because I felt like I had this knowledge base, I never just meandered for 10 years. And that was the cost of ignorance. So I never got in the shape I wanted to get in shape, like never got in the shape I wanted to be in. And I remember saying, and I wrote this in my testimonial, I said, here we go. Here's another Nim experiment. He's going to just sign up to this thing and there we go. Money's gone down the drain. And I still remember that week one accountability, like, what are you playing at? Response from Nathan. I went, yeah, like, he's right. I got to get on this. And then next thing you know, I think from about week 3, because I was traveling a lot, because my business involves traveling all across the country. And so I was a lot of habits that I had to change and build. And from about week 3, week 4 till about I finished in week 16. I mean, I'd like to think I was a pretty good client, like checked in on time, gave them the detail, progress was pretty good, like dropping weight. And yeah, the only thing that was a real struggle ended up being like, just like almost the non-technical part, like the emotional part of like feeling sometimes I was on my own and not knowing if I was doing the right thing. And that's where like Nathan actually flipped and suddenly seemed like he had some empathy. Like like the robot, the hitman became a bit of a softie and was like, no, it's fine. Like you're going to feel gaunt and all this stuff. And I was like, if I didn't hear those words, I would have packed it in week 6 or packed it in. Yeah. So RNT, yeah, just, eliminate the cost of ignorance, gave me what I needed at the right times. And then here I am, like, hopefully, next year I'm going to pack on some muscle and, finally do a photo shoot of some sort and then kind of look at my before and after and be like, we've had a good year.
Well, that's another part of coaching, is knowing when to push and knowing when to pull back. And it sounds like Nathan, being super strict on you in week 1 was exactly what you needed. But in week 8 or week 10 or whenever that moment was, him being able to pull back and give some empathy was exactly what you needed.
Yeah.
And that kept you going throughout that first transformation. So let's shift back to before you came to RNT again and discuss some of the things that you were doing and some of the biggest struggles that you had with your physique.
Yeah.
And how it made you feel.
Yeah. So I think before RNT, what was I doing? So I was always a sporadic gym goer. So there'll be some weeks I'll hit 3 sessions a week, and then there'll be a couple of weeks where I'll not hit the gym at all. So I don't know how you can quantify how I was like a semi-regular. And even though I knew the value of having a plan, I just still kind of did what I felt like. And so I was still training. And like I said, nutritionally, I was quite savvy. So like Monday to Friday, I felt like I had an idea of what to eat. Never measured any food. Like I didn't know what my intake was, but I picked healthy options. Like I said, like I had this weird algorithm in my head with carbs. It was like, you need to divide carbs by fiber, and that defines how good the carb is. But it's like, just random crap like that just confused my life and killed my mental energy. And then on the weekends, I would splurge. Like I'm such a foodie, and that's why, Sonayna, like my fiance, gives me double props because like I love food so much that for that cut, what I gave up was not just by any stretch of the means a normal thing. Like I gave up everything because, when I do my away jobs, I get to order anything I want for dinner. Yeah. And, there's Five Guys burgers on the menu and anything I want, I can just order. And I had to pick like, Nando's chicken breast or whatever it was when it came to shifting. So, before RNT, like I said, so like I would eat anything I want on the weekends, probably had a decent diet, like, and so it just kind of like went up and down in weight, like, never got overly fat. I think I was actually in one of my worst conditions just before I came to RNT, just came back from holiday. But just kind of like irregular, inconsistent gym going. Food was okay, but again, didn't really have a handle on it. So it was like good in pockets, but super inconsistent. And so that was the other thing, was the consistency that came with RNT was massive. Week 2, I was like, oh, have I lost some muscle because I'm on such a deficit? And it was like, no, you haven't. It's like, fine, all right. And then next thing you know, weeks 3 to 16 just like happened. It was just consistent. I never missed. I barely missed anything.
Did you have an attachment to the scale? Like, were you scared of going below a certain number?
Yeah, or? I'm one of those typical ones. Like, it's weird. You've probably written about the stereotype that I am, which is the over-analytical client at the start. I'm glad.
I remember our first call. The amount of questions you had on the call.
Yeah.
I could just tell that it was one of those clients.
Yeah. I had to know, because like I said, like I dropped about 6 PTs because I just felt like they weren't clued up enough to answer all my questions. And then even then initially you get a bit apprehensive because R&T is just at the time just a brand that you don't know very well. But now I'm totally bought into the point where I don't question any decision. I just kind of go all in. So it took a couple of weeks to actually kind of get to that mindset of like not questioning things. Yeah. And that's where the coaching objectivity becomes super valuable. But yeah, I had to go through a lot of questions and a lot of buy-in before I was like, I'm ready.
That's fair enough. I mean, there's a lot of cowboys out there. So
yeah, exactly.
Let's touch on the traveling aspect, because you mentioned that with your business, you have to travel all over the country. And this was something that contributed to getting out of shape in the first place, but it didn't stop while you were dieting in the beginning. No. You still have to travel pretty much every week, right? Yeah. Every week you're traveling.
Yeah.
So a big common objection I get from people is, that, I'm traveling a lot. How do I stay in shape? Or how do I get into shape when I'm traveling and on the road all the time? So it would be good to hear from your first-hand experience on what you did to navigate around this.
Yeah, I mean, just proactive, like just knowing where you're going to get your food from and knowing where you're going to train. That's the only 2 things you need to know when you travel. So as long as you plan that into your week, then that's the mindset you've got to have. Just like they've got to be non-negotiables in your week. So like I said, when I was traveling from all kind of places, I knew about this website called Pay As You Gym. So when it was like not the same clients, I might go to Portsmouth for a day, and if I need to train that day, I'll go to Pay As You Gym and pay £4 and get in that gym and get stuff done. But I was always based in like Brighton and Reading for the most part. So I have a gym membership that gets me national access. So I just knew where my gym sessions were going to come from. And then the only weird thing I had to do, I think, was because I would spend 3 nights in a hotel, it would be like being able to know what I'm having for lunch. Because breakfast was like dinner, you can just go to, like I literally had Nando's 16 weeks in a row. Like I literally had a butterfly chicken breast, a halloumi cheese and childhood veg. I've eaten that probably about 50 times, literally over those 16 weeks. So I just killed all the variables for dinner. Occasionally, I think once I had a steak because we went to a steakhouse. Lunchtime, and actually I probably could have eaten something a bit more palatable now, in hindsight, realizing all the different sources of carbs I could have got. But, Nathan mentioned, I said I need a non-perishable lunch because I want to travel. Like literally I had a little lunch bag. And it had my weighing scales. It always had 4 nights, 4 days. I had to have 8 rice cakes in there packaged up and 4 cans of tuna. So I was just locked and loaded for lunch for the whole week.
Tuna rice cakes?
Yeah, tuna rice cakes. And that's it, pretty much. And then salt. And Frank's. I just had a bottle of Frank's in my lunch bag. So I would just put a bit of Frank's, a bit of salt, a bit of tuna, a bit of rice cake. Because one thing was that would create a massive kind of that created a lot more calories for me to have dinner. So I almost, one of the other things I learned from R&T was the Craig Ballantyne podcast when he was talking about delaying gratification, and I just went, that's right. You're always better off delaying gratification. So what I did was I used to love these grenade protein bars, and they were in my plan. So I'd eat this tuna and rice cake, build up a bunch of calories for the evening, train, go to Nando's, and then treat that protein bar as like a dessert at the end. And it was that it was every day the number one thing I look forward to, just in a lonely hotel room in Brighton, is like, got my grenade protein bar that I carved out the space for because I was eating tuna and rice cakes for lunch. And it's fine, like tuna, rice cakes, salt and hot sauce. I mean, it's not like, Michelin star menu, but got the job done. So that's the main travel arrangement. Have the mindset about the plan, and just lunch is the only thing that's difficult, I think, to have a set view on how you're going to eat. So just have something that's easy to travel with lunch-wise. And that was for me.
What were you doing for breakfast then?
Breakfast, because you're in hotels, and all hotels have eggs and whatever you want. You can have poached eggs, but my hotel, luckily, they hate my guts because I would ask for a 10 egg white omelette every morning. So they have an omelette station. So I'd ask for a 10 egg white omelette, and every time I turn up, the chef was probably like, her heart sank. But I was like, and then in the end, I'll be honest, like when I hit my transformation, I went up to them, bought them a box of chocolates, ironically, and said, you helped me achieve this. So thank you very much. Like for
nice.
all the work you guys did, because like cracking 10 egg whites is hard fucking work.
Else, right?
So I made sure I went in non-peak times. I would be like, another thing about like RNT is like absolutely win the morning, and Akash talks about this in his podcast, and everyone's talking about the morning, like the nutcase on RNT talking about 20,000 steps in the morning before they start their day, and I'm like, okay, so I just need to wake up at 5 or something. So I used to wake up super early, miss the rush hour in the breakfast, and made sure I got my order in first up, because it would consume the chef capacity. So I just knew what I was eating every morning, because I knew the hotel had the breakfast.
So there's a couple of things there. First thing is you went on to autopilot. And you pre-planned it so that on the day when you're tired from work, you didn't have to make another decision.
Yeah.
That was all kind of taken care of. And the second thing is, you didn't make an excuse about lunch. Most people will think, oh, what can I eat for lunch? But you just said, okay, I'm going to take something non-perishable, which can apply to wherever you go, not just, you were doing national travel, but if you went away, it'd have been the same principle. You could still taken the tin tuna. I don't know if you probably can still take tin tuna, right?
Yeah.
Rice cakes, or you can go to buy tin tuna when you go abroad, right? Yeah. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, that's what I would do. At the start of the week, I'd go to the supermarket next to the train station and load up on drained cans of tuna, and my rice cakes would be from home. And I'd have a little kind of Tupperware of salt and a little Tupperware of Frank's hot sauce.
Perfect.
That was it. I mean, I look like a nutcase, and that's another thing I would say about like doing a transformation is like, don't be ashamed. Like just do, if you believe in what you're doing. And once I had that belief, I just ignored all the white noise around me. I was just like, I'm following through on this. And that's another one, because I think obviously you've got to pick up certain habits that aren't, socially, I would say like, viable. Like, when you bring your Tupperware food of meat, like when you bring your meals around places, I know you've done that as well. So like, you just got to think, don't care. Like, you're achieving a goal, and if they don't understand, then whatever. Like, you can tell them about it, but if people don't understand, it's not your place to have to explain it to them, as long as you believe it yourself.
You've got to have an unshakable belief that what you're doing is the right thing for you, and you're achieving something for yourself.
Yeah.
And I know you mentioned to me in the past that you heard on other podcasts where they've said you need to have a lot of positive social support around you.
Yeah.
But in your case, you didn't actually have that.
Yeah, like
you didn't have it to the extent that it would have been. Other people have had it.
Yeah. I think everyone. No, I don't think anyone wanted me to fail.
No,
I think it was more people were just super confused by what I was doing, because I was not a fat person. So people never understood how lean I wanted to get, and because everyone thinks if you're not overweight, then why would you put yourself through this?
And that's overweight with clothes on and normal.
Whereas, unfortunately, if you look at my before pictures, I'm not exactly tight and in good condition. So it was hard to convince people why I was doing it, and then everyone kind of acknowledged what I was doing. And one of the issues is with my starting body weight and frame. Before I finished, I was feeling a bit gaunt and quite skinny. And that was scary. Like, I'm Asian by background, so my parents are going to typically respond by going, "You're disappearing." Like I read the Sachin content, which was great, because I was like, look, if this guy's going through it, then I'm going to go through it as well. And my parents were like, you're disappearing. Yeah. My brother was like, what are you doing? Like, you're going to disappear before your wedding.
That triggered the article that I wrote.
Yeah. And and I read that, and I was like, fuck yeah. Like, this is the content that needs to be out there. Like, if I didn't get as lean as I am on a roadmap to diabetes. Both my parents are diabetic, right? So you would think that I would get it. But from what I understand about the condition, if I'm as lean as I am now, I'm much more likely to avoid it. Because all these like chronic conditions comes around like, being overweight and having visceral fat. And I think that was one of the neurosurgeon that was on Hirsch. Yeah. Like, talk about visceral fat. And I was just like, man, if anything, I'm just keeping away really horrific like conditions away for the long term for me. So not only is it aesthetically a good thing to do, but for my health, for my future kids, for my family, I'm glad I'm doing what I'm doing. And it's just when you hit the nail on the head, it's not that they want you to fail, but people are just very ignorant like in our culture. And I'm just glad this business like RNT exists and is making a tangible shift in the way people think about things like that. And I just had to use almost the R&T community and the content to fuel me into following through. But I think I've got a few more believers now. I think a few more people are like, no, I think Nim's doing something useful here. You know, now Sonayna, my fiance, started and she's in better shape, you know, doing RNT than she's been in doing she's done PT before, but again, RNT game changer, like for her. So yeah, slowly I'm spreading the word.
How's it been training with your fiance? I mean, obviously she joined after your cut, so it's more when you were into muscle building. Which probably didn't work out well, but for her. But describe like how that was, how the dynamic was there. Did it make you guys closer? Did it help your relationship, or did it help the process?
Yeah, 100%. Like she said, like she's got her coach is all right, I guess. But she said, no, I've been helpful with certain tips. I think the first couple of weeks. Yeah. So she said there was stuff that I said that made it a bit practical, like just little things. So I think doing it with someone who you know has done it is super useful. So she benefited from that. And then I think because there was this one time I had it's crazy. Like I was at my in-laws for dinner and I was about to whip out the weighing scale to know like what I'm about to eat. And she gave me a look of like confusion and dismay, and I was like, all right, I'll put it away. So, you know, whatever. I didn't know what I was measuring. And then literally, like when she started, she was like, I totally get what you're doing now. Like, and it was just that mutual understanding that was massive. Yeah. And yeah, she's killed it. Like she is like on it as well. Like I think sometimes we think we talk about it a bit too much. Like, oh, you're on a cut, you're on a bulk. But like, I think we've just built a different lifestyle, and I think it would be brilliant to be role models, like for family, like kids, family, whatever it might be. So yeah, it's been really positive.
I mean, it can only be something positive, right? There's no real negatives to it. I can't see the negatives that can be brought when, you know, two people are trying to live a healthier lifestyle, not just for themselves, but for their future family.
Yeah, 100%. Like I'm going to look back in hindsight and feel like signing up to RNT was literally one of the best decisions I ever made. Not to give you too big a head, but like quite literally, like it's changed the game, changed the way I'm approaching life, even from a goals perspective. Like the whole coaching, I've got you as a health coach, but ultimately now I'll just look at anything I do as something I want to achieve and think, should I get coaching? And that's something, ironically, even though I do that for a living, I wouldn't have thought about until I signed up. So it's not just helped me just that result. It's helped me on just on it's going to help me on a number of things. In hindsight, that's probably where I'm going to.
Yeah, I mean, I want to talk about how it's helped you professionally in a bit, but before we do that, I want to talk about how you dealt with the shift from fat loss, where you achieved an amazing transformation from a fat loss perspective, to now, what are we, 5-6 months deep into a muscle building phase?
Yeah.
How have you dealt with that shift in, you know, not only goal setting, but appearance and the way day-to-day is compared to fat loss?
Yeah, actually, ironically it's mixed, I think, because like I love the food, and like I said, I'm a foodie, but the irony is, I think I let the discipline slip a bit, like just because you almost, what's happened recently, we've done a mini cut, has recently made me realize where discipline is even doubly important doing muscle building. My lifts are like through the roof, like literally, like when I look at, like, I just posted on the group about my Bulgarian split squats and I hate them, so I'm not even looking forward to it. Doing 28s. I started on 14s.
No way.
Yeah. And clean, I just did a video and it was clean. So, and I started 14s, and I still remember, again, week 1 check-in, I was like, can I swap these for goblet squats? And Nathan was like, no, stick to the plan. And now I'm like, I'm a Bulgarian squatting machine, but they're terrible. Like, they're not easy to look forward to. So rack pulls are up to like 170 for 6. So like literally, like that's weights. I wouldn't have even been able to move the bar like on the floor when I started. So my strength has absolutely blown up. Like I said, like the food's been good. I think you need to have this is my biggest issue, is like, I like the gratification clearly of the cut, because I saw the results really quickly, and short of taking PEDs or something, like you just realize that natural muscle building is a long game. And I just remember some of the books, my meandering fitness journey. I bought these books that said, oh, I've gained 40 pounds of muscle in 6 months, and I'm like, bullshit you have.
Yeah.
You've either taken some PEDs or it's not 6 months. So if anything, it's
6 years more like.
Yeah, 6 years. Like it's crazy. Huh?
If you're lucky.
Yeah, if you're lucky. Yeah, because it's just a grind. But and yeah, like I enjoyed it. But I think when I go back on it again, like for in terms of the building, it's definitely going to be more discipline. Not waiting for quicker results. Like I'd rather play the long game. And I know this is the one I haven't learned as a lesson yet, but the one thing I've always been nervous about is the fluffiness. So, you know, I got fluffy in December, and I don't know what you would have suggested if I wasn't pushing to get a bit more leaner for my honeymoon. But yeah, I realized that post-honeymoon, no more excuses. Like I've got to just embrace a bit more of the fluff.
So the reason why we did a mini cut for you, I mean, you'd gone, so just from a timeline perspective, we're now recording this early Feb. Early December, you were still in a good spot. You still see an outline of your abs. Then you had 2 stags in 3 weekends. Yeah. And you came back and you completely spilled. And then Christmas came. Yeah. And you came back and you completely spilled at the start of the year.
And the training had dropped off big time.
The training had dropped off, your discipline had dropped off, and those kind of systems and habits that you spent months building were just starting to show some cracks. Yeah. So I used the mini cut with you not just to tidy up a bit, but it was also to reinstill that discipline and reinstill the habits and just remind you of where you should be at and then build that foundation again. Right. Because, you know, it can slip sometimes if you let life get in the way too much. And you've just got to remind yourself sometimes that you need to snap it back into place. Yeah. Had you not had a honeymoon coming up in 2 months, we probably wouldn't have done it in as aggressive manner as we did. We probably wouldn't have needed to take off as much fluff as we did. But obviously, you know, you got your wedding coming up, so you want to look a little bit sharper for that. But I think going forwards, and I think I've already told you that you shouldn't be thinking about cutting now till 2021. You know, you need a good solid 12 to 18, maybe 24 months of just staying in a surplus. And I think there's something to be said for just staying in a surplus and your body's ability to grow while in a surplus as long as you're training hard. Yeah. The training is even more important now. Yeah. Just staying in a surplus isn't going to build your muscle. No. But staying in a surplus consistently while continually adding weight to the bar, adding reps to the weight, then you're going to grow muscle. And because you've never had that consistent period of building muscle, even though you've been training for 10 years, I still classify you as an early intermediate. I wouldn't call you an advanced trainer by any means, right? Most people will be training years for 10 years. You're training 10 years properly, then maybe you're an advanced trainee, but I'd still classify you as early intermediate. Yeah. So you need that foundation building phase almost. And once you go through one real big foundation building phase, then you can stay leaner year round in the future, which is like almost where the position I'm in now, where I can be in decent condition year round and hold decent amount of size. Yeah. Whereas if you were to hold the same condition I'm holding, you probably feel skinny. Yeah. Is that correct?
Yeah, like right now, like the funny thing is, like even though it's been about 3-4 months, I have put on a good amount, like almost a surprising amount of my frame. Like,
so because I remember when I first run the stats through.
Right now, so I started at 70, dropped down to 59, 60, around there, and then built up to, we've been measuring in pounds. So what's 145? Because I don't know what, I can't remember the...
do it in pounds. So you went down to one... So it went down to 132.
So started at 154, went down to 132, and then...
Built up to 147, I think.
Yeah, built up to 147, and now coming out pretty much as lean as I finished, maybe a pound off. But where am I now? 140? 139? Yeah. So that is 132, which was my lowest, and now I'm 139.
And let's just say you are 1 or 2 pounds off your leanness. So that's about 5 pounds of muscle.
Yeah, 5 pounds.
4 or 5 months. Which, that's very, very good. Yeah. I mean, that's probably not a rate you're going to continue at. Yeah. But it's because you're still in the early phases of real newbie consistent gains, you're still getting some newbie gains, which is quite amazing to think when you've been training for 10 years that you're getting newbie gains now, but it's only because this is proper training and that will taper off. But now in the next phase, if you can really kind of push the envelope with your body weight, with your strength training, and like I always say, embrace the fluff and stay there for a while, consolidate it. That's the really key point. It's not you're not panicking as soon as you lose the outline of your abs. Which, if someone like you, your frame where you're quite ectomorphic, you've got that, that slimmer frame. Yeah. If you panic at the sight of losing your abs, you're gonna you're not going to do yourself a good service.
Yeah. And I think, I've already told my fiance about the fluff. I'm ready to do this for 2 years, like just said, and I'm going to get fluffy. And she was like, all right, I'll get fluffy with you. And I was like, we'll see about that. But no, yeah. So whatever. Like,
yeah, you just got to play the long game, and it's almost like I always liken it to investing. You got to deposit the pennies now and then cash them out in the future.
Yeah.
We have to build that nest egg for a while. Yeah, and it does take a while, but it's worth it because I've spent years in that fluff zone, and it was points where I've never been. I got lean after I first started training because I was skinny fat, and then I got lean. So I never. Once I got lean, I lost that insecurity that I had about my body.
Right.
So I didn't mind being fluffy. When I got into fluffy stages, I still go on holiday, and I didn't think, okay, I'm going on the beach holiday, so I need to cut down for it. Right. I just rock up on the beach looking fluffy, and I was like, okay, well, my goal I just kept my eyes on the bigger picture, which wasn't a 2-week holiday or a 1-week beach holiday. It was the idea of being in good shape in the future. Like now, like for example, when I went to Thailand, then I thought, okay, I'm just going to tidy up a bit, and I felt great.
Yeah,
but
you look stacked. Like I remember thinking like, because Akash hasn't released a few photos in a while, and I was like, oh damn, all right, fair play, all right, he's been in that gym. For a while I was just like, he's keeping this quiet, like still got the photo from like 15 of him being absolutely shredded. Oh, was that 2017? That was
2017, yeah.
Oh, you being shredded, that photo shoot.
2017, yeah.
Oh wow, okay.
That was July 2017, yeah.
But then, you looking, really, like, I was surprised because you clearly have put the investment in, and that's what I realized. It's like, you got to.
Like someone put Kunal put a picture of. So he runs the social media on RNT page, and he put that defining your hips article picture.
Oh yeah. And
I was 91 kilos. So I was at the peak of my bulk this year. I was fit, And at the time, I didn't realize it. And I saw that picture, and I was like, and the amount of people that screenshotted it and sent it to me and said, "Is that really you?" And I said, "Yeah, that was at the peak of my bulk."
Yeah.
And I held that for a while. I think when we first met at the meetup in August, I think I was at that same.
I was just
pretty
like,
chunky at that point.
Yeah. I was just like, is that the guy that runs this company? I remember when I first, and then obviously that's what threw me, because then obviously when you took the Thailand shots, I was like, oh fuck, all right, fair play.
Yeah.
He brought it back.
Yeah, and I didn't bring it. I didn't think I didn't lose it.
Yeah,
it was just covered up in body fat. Because I was getting strong as hell. That picture of the bulk, I was at my strongest ever.
Yeah,
like I was doing 55 kilo dumbbell presses for 6 reps. That was the strongest I ever got to. So it was, but it wasn't like I was just not taking time out of the gym. And then someone said to me, they saw my before and after from that bodybuilding prep, and they said, "So I'm guessing you didn't train before the before picture." So no, I was training my hardest ever.
Off season.
And I was eating 500 plus grams of carbs measured to the gram every day.
Right.
Training like an animal at my strongest ever.
Yeah.
Just had body fat. And the thing is, when you're natural muscle building, when you have some more body fat, you end up looking like you don't even train.
Yeah.
You end up looking skinny fat again.
Yeah.
Bigger version of skinny fat. And then you drop the body fat, and then that's when everything shows.
Yeah. So I think it's the long game, because then it sounds like the cut would be another 12, 16 weeks.
Yeah. And then you're sorted.
Yeah.
Right? And then you can, if you reverse out of that, then you can stay lean.
Yeah. No, that sounds good, I think.
And that's the journey that most people should take. But what tends to happen is once they get that cut objective accomplished, they think there's nothing else afterwards. And they think there's no need for objective guidance and accountability to get them to that next level, which is where everyone wants to be. Everyone wants to have their cake and eat it almost, right? They want to be able to have a flexible lifestyle that's revolved around their social events, but still staying in shape. But in order to get there, you have to deposit the pennies.
And would you say the same for like girls as well? Like, is it the same kind of like philosophies about kind of getting fluffy, building muscle?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it comes down to the psychology as well. You've got to look at the psychology of the person and their history of where they've been in the past.
Yeah.
So going back to men, older men, like in their late 30s, early 40s, probably don't want to do aggressive bulks.
No.
I would probably save the aggressive bulking for people in their 20s and early 30s.
Right.
For women, again, it's going to be a psychological thing. They probably won't want to embrace too much fluff because, it's not going to make them feel good.
No.
But when you hear of women who they go through fat loss phases and they say, I've lost my ass.
Right.
Or I've lost. You've heard that before, right? You probably.
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not in the game, but I can imagine hearing
I've lost my arse, or I've got no arse anymore.
Right.
And the reason is, it's because you've got no body fat left, and there's no muscle there.
Yeah.
You've got no muscle in the arse to show it.
Right.
So you do have to go through muscle building phases, and I think it's probably one of the biggest mistakes women make is not chasing strength and not chasing muscle gain. And they might need to be a little bit fluffy for a period of time. And for them, I'd probably just cycle a bit more. So you might want to do
something like what I did.
2-3 months of building, a couple of weeks of just tidying up, 2-3 months of building, a couple of weeks of tidying up. But for them, it's got to be about strength.
Right.
If you can get them focused on strength, everything will take care of itself. And they'll naturally start building a physique, as you've seen in Sonayna.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Like, because she's so much stronger compared to when she started. Like, she's just progressive overload, just consistent with that program is really impressive. So yeah. And but you would say if it wasn't for the psychology, you'd recommend kind of long game investing.
Long game thinking as well. Yeah. And that'll allow them to again be more flexible with their foods, which tends to be the biggest issue. And a lot of the issue is the fact that they have to eat such low calories to maintain body weight. Yeah. But if they can just build some more muscle, not that more muscle means more calories, but it just gives the body a bigger engine to work off.
Yeah, definitely.
And there are huge benefits for just focusing on strength. And even if you just focus on strength for women as a way to just distract them from the fact they always got to look at the scale.
Yeah.
And they've always got to look at themselves in the mirror. If they can just focus on saying, okay, I'm going to take my hip thrust from 80 kilos to 10 to 120 kilos for 10.
Yeah.
What do you think that's going to do for your ass?
Yeah.
For your glutes?
Yeah.
It's going to blow it up, right?
Yeah. No, that's true. No, it's
and same applies to guys as well. Yeah. But when women do it, they get more of a sense of empowerment, and it distracts them from the scale, which can be addictive.
Yeah. Like, I think that's the main thing about Sonayna's is every time she's hitting bigger plates on the bar, like her deadlifts, she must be feeling so empowered, like lifting more than half the guys in the gym there.
Exactly. Yeah.
And she's still getting too many guys approaching her, asking her what she's doing. She'd probably take an RNT badge so you can ward off all those potential people. But it's good. She's doing really well, and empowered is definitely the thing. And I feel empowered, like to the point where I was a beginner kind of guy, and like now it's just people come up to me, and recently, like, because I've just cut down, like people like big guys are coming up to me, like, how did you get so shredded? I just go, well, here's the RNT Instagram site, and here's the guy, and you should follow up and get some get some advice and be accountable and follow through.
So we've talked a lot about your body transformation journey over the years.
Yeah.
One thing you're extremely passionate about, and we briefly touched upon, is the journey of an entrepreneur's transformation.
Yeah.
Do you want to touch a bit more on that and your kind of new passion that you're almost cultivating right now?
Yeah.
As a potential future business for yourself.
Yeah. So like I just looked at, RNT is run by yourself, who's an entrepreneur, and what it made me realize is this is the game. Like, this is the real game. Like, I don't have to be necessarily working to someone or something. Like, I need to find my passion and almost create it for myself. So it was that insight. And I think it was, again, the Craig Ballantyne podcast that made me realize, like, there's so many people here creating their fortune, if you will, out of their passion. And I'm so passionate about what I've learned. And I thought to myself, not only am I passionate to be an entrepreneur myself, but actually when I think about it, I'm like, what does an entrepreneur know about, like, running a business and setting strategy and things like that? So I thought to myself, well, my entrepreneurial business could be helping entrepreneurs set up a kind of a lean system, like about how you do strategy, how you do performance management, how you create a culture that's more about improvement than standing still. And so, like early doors, and, I've been networking out there kind of with other entrepreneurs, trying to really understand what's out there in the market. And a lot of people do offer coaches, coaching and mastermind sessions to entrepreneurs. What I'm hoping to bring as a different look is, well, how many of them are giving you coaching on one of the most best practice, world-class methodologies on how you run a business? Because that's what I've been trained in. And I think that's a gap in the market. And I just think, I need a push because, it's ultimately going to take more and more time to build out that business. But, one day in the future, I think that's my end game, because, that's going to give me the freedom to be at home, hopefully, and have a family and not have to do my job of traveling so much and things like that. So I think there's definitely a potential in that side of things. But the funny thing is, what I hear about an entrepreneur's journey when I go to these events is there's these long working weeks and the grind is hard, but I think the payoff's there. And I think there's definitely potential for me to do something like that.
So you mentioned in passing, you said lean, and you said lean methodology, and it's been the best that you think is out there. Can you discuss some of the lean principles?
Yeah, so lean, for anyone who's kind of a history nerd, in the World War, obviously Japan's economy took a massive hit after the Second World War, and they were rebuilding its economy. And essentially, economy is built off productivity of businesses that build an economy. So how Japanese businesses operated was quite a critical aspect of how the economy was going to start getting better. And actually, an American scientist called Edward Deming went over to Japan to talk to them about something called quality improvement. It's the kind of same thing as lean. And essentially, they adopted all these principles of this methodology in Toyota. And it got to the point where they did a study. These MIT students did a study and wrote a book about it called The Machine That Changed the World. And essentially, it showed that Toyota's productivity of their car manufacturing business was exponentially, not exponentially literally, but considerably higher than all the other American counterparts. And so they tried to find out, well, what was it? And it was this thing that then those authors actually called lean. Now that's what everyone calls it. I mean, technically Toyota didn't call it lean. They just called it how they run their shit. So, and so that's now, if you look at any industry analysis of how you run a business of any big corporation, people will talk about lean being the best. And it all comes from that history. And then recently, healthcare organizations are kind of getting wise to applying lean or quality improvement systems and culture to their organization. That's just the best way to run your organization. So that's how I found out about, that's why I'm attached to lean. And ultimately, you've had to boil it down to three things. It's about how you set strategy. And strategy, is such a commonly, misused word. I've got the quality strategy, my IT strategy, I've got my finance strategy. And what you've got is just a laundry list. And actually, the number one thing that an organization needs is focus. Yeah. So how are they going to get focus? So that's normally a gap we see with any organization. Secondly, it's about the culture of the organization. So leadership, what's the values that they espouse? If you're not creating a culture that gets all employees to buy into your business, then you're not going to succeed, because actually improvement comes from your frontline employees. And then the last point is about improvement being the day job. So employees are typically, in any non-lean organization, paid to just clock in, do their work and clock out. But until you make improvement part of their job role, part of their kind of daily expectations and part of the culture of the business, then you're just standing still. And if you're standing still, you're going backwards. So those are kind of what it really boils down to. And I think I would only imagine entrepreneurs, as part of scaling their business, do they have a focused strategy? Probably, or probably not. Have they ever been taught how to build one? Have they really thought about improvement as a daily activity? Maybe, but again, probably not. And then when it comes to just the systems that create everything I'm describing, there's just this wealth of knowledge that I've acquired that I'm keen to be able to help entrepreneurs on that journey.
So it sounds like in order to make this work, there needs to be something that the business is striving towards. Am I correct?
Yeah. So first you start with a vision.
Yeah.
So you need to have a vision for your business. And then essentially the strategy, if I had to be really simplistic about it, strategy, like I said, it's about focus. So the one thing that helps with focus is measures. So if you think about, how you improve someone's physique, yes, you give that qualitative feedback on the coaching and review their pictures. But one of the key attributes to coaching, I imagine, is how you use the numbers that are on the scoreboard, right? What's people's weight? What have they eaten? does that help you kind of influence how you're going to coach them this week? And it's the same thing with strategy. It's like, well, what are the key numbers that are going to tell you if you've achieved your vision? So I say to any kind of entrepreneur, like, you come up with five to 10 metrics across a balanced view of how you're going to achieve the vision. And when I say balanced, I mean, how are you measuring your customer satisfaction? How are you measuring quality? How are you measuring cost? How are you measuring staff satisfaction?
Yeah.
How are you measuring, if you run a business that relies on timely responses or access, then how are you measuring your access? So if you run a logistics company, you need to know how long it takes from your parcel to get from A to B, as an example. And you need to be able to say, well, what's my vision? And then what are the 5 things across those kind of balanced areas that would tell me if I'm achieving that vision? And then ultimately, strategy is just saying, well, where am I on all of those? Picking 1 or 2 and saying, let's double down and absolutely nail these before, because people are probably just so inundated with what they could focus on, they get decision fatigue. So the idea is you pick one area, focus on it, finish the improvement, and then move on to the next thing. And that's all it is. That's all it boils down to. It's just like focus. And then the other side of it is using an improvement methodology that's more kind of scientific oriented, because most people improve with their gut. So one of the common phrases I hear people say when they're improving something, they say, oh, I think this is going to happen. And I say, well, you think, but you don't know. And why don't you know? It's because you have no data to evidence what you're doing. And that's the scientific method of improvement. Every scientific method, every scientific outcome that's been published has scientific evidence to back it up. And again, it's the same thing with business. If you can't evidence the improvement and how it's been achieved, then all you've done is just shot from the hip and hope for the best. And that's kind of just a couple of principles about what I think would, even for a small, almost especially for a small business, should look to kind of embody as the way they run their organization.
So, and one thing I'm kind of picking up from you is that your strategy is very much, while you're working with the business owner, it's very much team driven.
Yeah.
Like everyone's involved in this.
Yeah.
It's not just the man at the top saying, okay, guys, or not even saying, okay, guys, just this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
It's saying to everyone, okay, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
And that seems a bit unique to what more traditional business coaching offerings tend to have.
Yeah.
I mean, they tend to be more marketing and sales driven, whereas yours seems to be more holistic and almost starting from the bottom up.
Yeah. That's literally the entire philosophy of lean, is like the actual improvement muscle of your organization lives in your staff. Yeah. So if you don't have them bought into the improvement you're doing, why you're doing it, and how you're doing it, then you're not improving something. You're just espousing shit. Like, you're just saying stuff, but they're the ones who execute on the improvement. So you can't make improvement happen until you have the entire organization bought in, your entire group of staff. And that's where the culture bit comes in. What's the culture that the leadership's creating? So it's more about being humble. Like, it's more about being humble than being a dictator. It's more about saying, I don't know the answer, but we're going to use this improvement methodology and the expertise of my frontline staff to drive improvement. And that's how you make improvement not just work, but stick.
Yeah. So what's the future hold for Nim?
What's the future hold for Nim? So, like I said, I believe in coaching in every kind of key domain now of my life. So I think next year, like, business goal wise, I want to continue to work on this business and see where I can get it to. So, I've got someone I've got some support around me. I've got, I need to probably hire a coach to actually help build this through, like, probably once I've really nailed down that focus, and then hopefully I can build out a client list over this year. Like, I can't pretend that I have a set goal yet. Maybe that's something I need to do. Health wise, definitely fitness wise, let's spend, a year to 2 years bulking. So, probably just more like, we've done our 2019 goal setting, so I know what my health goal is. And then I guess for my marriage, my social support is building strong foundations with my marriage, and, giving everything I can to my marriage to make sure it's a successful first year. So making sure I create time, date night and all that good stuff. And, I'm sure the occasional bouquet of flowers won't go amiss. So we got empty vase at this. My house has gone from this like bland guy's flat with like nothing there. And I was thinking like, oh, I might, she's she told me to get a rug. And I was like, why do I need a piece of carpet on my floor? Let me tell you something. That rug has changed my life. It's the best thing in my house since sliced bread. So we got an empty bar, so I'm sure I need to get some flowers for it now and again to keep my wife happy.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Let's finish up on a quick rapid fire.
Okay.
First one. So you're on a hard diet. What's your go-to cheat meal or meal off, as I should probably say? A
meal off is Five Guys cheeseburger, 100%.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
You sounded very. You knew that one already.
Yeah, because anytime I know that a Five Guys is in within like a mile vicinity, it will drag me in. It's like the dark side.
So I've never actually had a Five Guys burger.
Oh, that's crazy. I mean, to be fair, is it the best? Is it like the most like gourmet like burger with cooked medium rare? Like that's what I would say ultimate is, and I'd say there's better burgers for that.
For sure, yeah. But
for a fix, when I get a full works Five Guys with the right toppings, I'm literally getting I'm salivating thinking about it. Like I said, I'm a foodie, so yeah, definitely.
What's the one place you'd love to travel to?
West Coast of America. I think it's on our list after the honeymoon.
Good choice. And who should we have on our podcast next?
Oh, who should we have on our podcast next? I'm stumped. I think definitely more clients is always the more interesting. You get insight into everyone's journey. Maybe get my wife on a podcast.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, sure. We could do a couples one. No, just keep doing what you're doing. Like the people you get are super interesting. Just I would say more clients and just more interesting people. Who have you got lined up, like in terms of podcasts?
Mainly actually clients, and then we're going to do more team podcasts as well.
Yeah,
they've been pretty good.
Yeah. The recent one with Nathan was really good because because I know Nathan obviously through the coaching, but like I got so much insight into Nathan, and it was quite cool, like just learning about him as a person as well.
Yeah, that episode had really good feedback. It was episode 61 for those of you wanting to know.
Yeah, so I guess same strategy, just keep doing the team ones, coach, do like a special on I don't know if you said you were getting new coaches in, so it'd be interesting to start hearing who's the new face of RNT and more clients.
Is there anywhere people can find you on, or any socials you want to plug, or you're off the scene?
No, I mean, I'm on Instagram, but it's a weak profile that I need to start building. So, at Nimalan Chandran on Instagram. You can add me on Facebook, same name. And, kind of watch this space while I build out my social media presence.
Amazing. If you enjoyed today's episode with Nimalan, and you can see how other people can value from it, please share it with your family and friends. For more information, please visit www.rntfitness.com and follow us on Instagram at RNT_fitness or at Akash Fagala. Thanks for listening.